Let me read something to you from that book. I didn't want to open it before, but now we are here. This is public service work I'm doing now. This is Nelson Ota. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire, monolith as in their Igbo, inmates as though they are in prison. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire fed on nothing but the fanfaronade being dished out by Radio Biafra, and so still convinced that, quote unquote, no force in Black Africa could bring the Biafran empire down, and they were not listening either. The euphoria was too massive to allow either doubt or dissent. And that's why they call, what's his name? Lieutenant Colonel Banjo is a pessimist and coward. So he says here, Lieutenant Colonel Banjo, the pessimist and coward, could go on clocking all over the place like a fuzzy hen. Enugu, listen, no, Enugu was still under this propaganda-induced mass hypnosis. That's what I was saying earlier. He called it mass hypnosis. Propaganda-induced mass hypnosis when the troops of the 2nd Division of the Federal Nigerian Army recaptured Benin from the secessionist troops on 20th September 1967. I'll jump to the part of T.Y. Danjuma. Things were no better for Ojukwu on the Nsukka front. It was in the same month of September that Major T.Y. Danjuma had issued to his troops an order of battle that read, quote unquote, quote, mission to capture Enugu by 1800 hours on D7, end of quote. When the 1800 hours struck, Major Danjuma and his troops started to advance rapidly towards Enugu. This was in the morning of 12th September 1967. Major Danjuma is still alive. Oh, that's still Danjuma. Major Danjuma's advance brought him and his troops to such towns between Nsukka and Enugu as Akwebe, in which a young Nigerian intellectual, Major Christopher Okigbo, was killed after his battalion headquarters had been outflanked. Ikolo, Ogbede, Omulungbe, if I'm not pronouncing correctly, I apologize, I'm not Igbo. Ikolo, Ogbede, Omulungbe, and Okpatu. At this time, when Nigerian forces were advancing towards Enugu, at this time, Radio Biafra was still busy announcing the recapture of Nsukka and Okwe. Nobody said they just lose Nsukka. They're about to lose the very place they are sleeping in, the very beds that they're laying their heads on, and they're telling the world, not only are we safe, we don't recapture the place where we don't lose since. It says at this time, Radio Biafra was still busy announcing the recapture of Nsukka and Okwe. This game of mass deception continued until the advancing federal troops, probably angered by the blatant lie-telling of the Enugu radio station, lumped over 2 artillery shells which fell within a few yards of the broadcasting studio and sent the broadcasters running. This incident took place in the morning of 26 September 1967. Your fathers listen to these clowns who were lying to them from radio. I should not believe you because you are crying over it. So that we can say we are one Nigeria. I respect your parents, but your parents didn't know what happened. They were told what happened, and the people that told them lied to them. And the job of sane people is to look for the truth, not to tell people to believe them, even if it's a lie. But that's for sane people. Within Enugu itself, events were marching furiously. Although the mass hypnosis, which was at the time very effective, was still obscuring realities. Men and women in the streets were telling themselves and their neighbors that there was no danger. That the artillery shells, which were then exploding with uncomfortable frequency, were new weapon systems being tested by Biafran scientists. In the very face of death, they were still saying, no, that's not they're just testing weapons. In the very face of death, they say, the thing where they throw inside Radio Biafra, we make people come out studio. You hear them for street. You see now your Biafra scientists, they try something. Why? Because you were told that there was no problem. This is not the worst of it, by the way. One day, if I have the time, I'm going to read some of the things from Okonkon Ndem, who was working in Radio Biafra at the time, and the rubbish lies he fed your people with. This is public service. I'm doing this sincerely because of young people that use social media. So that maybe one day, if they ever go online to, if they ever come online to check anything, they will find an alternative to what you are saying, and then they will now be forced to go and check all the books I'm mentioning, and then they will find the truth, and they will heal, and then the region will make progress. Because going by this nonsense, you'll be like this for another generation, because now life full am. So we should believe Radio Biafra because we are all one. No. Now let's go to the emotional part of the lady's argument. Take a listen, please.
Informations were killed. The only person we hear they kill is Agui Ironsi. We didn't get to hear the remaining soldiers of Igbo extraction that were killed. These things were buried. Now, after killing Agui Ironsi, which Gowon also helped to plan, you can see, so he took over government. And as if that was not enough, they went on rampage on the streets to kill innocent Southeasterners and Midwest. Now, when we talk about Igbo, I hope the rest of Nigerians understand who the Igbos are. The Igbos then, from Nigerian own perception, is the Southeast and Midwest. These are people that were termed Igbos. So, and they were the people that were killed during that genocide. And now we are beginning with what is going on now. We are beginning to know that that genocide wasn't actually genocide. It was actually a continuation of jihad. Because that killing ought not to have happened. And now let me educate you that during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that
how was it a jihad? Was it genocide? Of course it was. People were killed because of their ethnicities. That's a terrible thing. Crazy stuff. Igbos were killed because they were Igbos. That's, nobody can even, controvert that. But how that thing can become jihad? You go somebody's house, kill him papa, when they joke, they laugh the person, they tell the person, say, shut up, now we own this place together, all of you, we don't deal with you. It's in this book. Should I read it? Coup say now only Nzogu can bring sense, knock sense into them, taunt them in their land. It was so bad. Northern Nigerian newspapers were saying, you've got to curb this thing, Igbos in the north, away from home, in motor parks, in secretariats. You taunted them for months. January, they didn't do anything, even though the killings of Sadauna happened in January. They didn't retaliate. February, they didn't do anything. March, nothing. April, nothing. It was in May that they got angry. And what made that happen? Because of the decree 34 of May 24, 1966, where Oronsi centralized everything, including land, including civil service jobs, and said there is no regional civil service anymore. Everybody is now one. Unity, Buinani. Give us unitary system, abolish the regional system. Ironsi gave us unitary system, not Ojukwu. Ironsi gave us unitary system May 24, 1966. However, even Ironsi was in on it. Sorry, Ironsi did it, but even Ojukwu was in on it. How did I know? Read the book by Ojukwu's Attorney General, Nebo Graham Douglas. He was the one who Ojukwu told him to advise them on the draft decree for a unitary constitution in Nigeria in May of 66. He told him that this thing, people are not going to take it easy with you. And he had a conversation with the Solicitor General of the Midwest, Attorney General of the West, of the North. And then they all said that he gave the great advice. Well, a few days later, they promulgated the decree. So here's the point. Did they kill Northerners? Yes. Sorry, did Northerners kill Igbos? Yes. Was it a genocide? Yes. Why? Because it was based on the ethnicities. Based on the ethnicity, and it's bad. Was it a jihad? How? There's something I've noticed, and you see it in the book. You also see it in the book by Bengule, Nigeria's 5 Majors. If people want, okay, I remember what I was going to say earlier. I am not saying that there are no people who want to have jihad, though. I'm not saying that there's no group of people who want Islamic Nigeria. I'm sure they exist. I mean, you only have to observe. But there's something I've noticed. Every time the East wants to push an agenda, and they did this in 66, even before this whole thing, and then in 67, after they declared Biafra, they will push the agenda of Islam, of Muslim versus Christians. E.g., even one of their best, What's her name? Chimamanda Adichie still said it. That the reason for the war was because they were Christians and they were fighting them, and then because of the oil. Number one, you did not own the oil. There was no oil in Igbo land. Number two, it wasn't Christian versus Muslim because the leader of the nation that was fighting you was a Christian. Yakubu Gowon was a Christian. Interestingly, Ojukwu told Graham Douglas that Yakubu Gowon would not fight because he's a Christian. Where am I getting all these things from? The book written by Graham Douglas is called Ojukwu's Rebellion and World Opinion. That book, you can get it on Radio Me Global right now on Telegram. It's free. It was published in 1968 in the midst of the war. So don't be say, just yesterday. It was not a jihad. That's the point. It had no religion undertone. All they were doing was give you payback for what you did to them in January, and it was terrible and it should not have been done. But don't lie, that it was jihad. There was nothing religious about it. You killed the leaders, they killed yours. Well, the ones they could find, and they were wrong to do that. But it's not because of their religion. And I'm not saying they are not jihadists or Islamic kiniko in Nigeria, but this thing where if they want to get the South or maybe Yoruba people, especially, that's what will make them come to you and tell you, church, take back your country. It's not because they care about Christianity. Does Peter Obi care about Christianity? It's not the one that broke a place that's almost homogeneous. I mean, Anambra State has majority Igbos. Yes, there are Igala there, but they are majority Igbos. He managed to break them into Catholic versus Anglican. You're not telling everybody, church, take back your country. And a Christian Yoruba person who is a believer is saying it is for the Lord. Muslim ticket. Who told you? Oh, those people want to Islamize Nigeria. How many Qurans have they given to you now? It's Christian versus Muslim. You know, we have a Christian. Read this book, Sheo Shagari. You read what these clowns were telling people all over the world. In Geneva, in Italy. Muslim versus Christian. It's not a religious war. You messed up, they dealt with you, and it was bad on both sides. And may the souls of the departed rest in peace. But they will not even rest because of these lies. The lies not they let them rest. Can we take more of this? Oh boy. It's 7:32. Now 5 minutes 54 seconds with this video. I know say ago. I knew I was going to take a while, but man, I didn't know I was going to take this long. Let's continue.
That during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that pregnant women's stomach were ripped off? They can't even kill the pregnant woman and let the unborn child die peacefully. They rip off the stomach of pregnant women and kill the unborn child and kill the mother. The woman, the pregnant woman with their life, they will use knife. She'll be looking at them. They will use knife and open her stomach. Bring out the unborn child. So the woman will see her unborn child, see her intestines, and then they will kill the child before the mother and then kill the mother. These are the things that were done in your land. They won't tell you this. Do you know that during the genocide, the Islamic extremists will gag the eyes of people out, and give it to them to chew? That's happened in this your country. Then after chewing it, they will still kill them. Some of them, their ears were cut off and they given to them to chew. And after chewing it, and they will be killed. So, do you know that over 30,000 Igbos were killed in the north? 30,000 Igbos.
Did that happen to people where people caught up and I mean it's terrible? It must have happened. I can't say that's a lie. But I think one of the problems we have in Nigeria is one-sided. What did Chimamanda call it? Single narrative. I want to read something to you. This is from a man called Dr. B.J. Imkeme from Calabar, a retired senior medical officer in the employment of the former Eastern Nigerian government. And this is what he said about what the Igbos that is make. I'll come back to the 30,000 figures later. Let's take one by one. I want to tell you what the Igbos did to them. This is Dr. B.J. Imkeme. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own. This statement was in 68. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own in which they enjoyed the right of self-determination. This did not suit the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra. And so they were determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. By the way, the Eastern region had 12.4 million people. 7 million of them were Igbos, 5.4 were minorities. But the minorities had the land, the oil, and access to the sea that the Igbos did not have. Let's continue. This did not suit the Igbos, the idea of having their own state. This did not suit the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra, and so they determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. To this end, Igbo soldiers were quickly sent to all non-Igbo areas with instructions to keep down the people, detain or even kill all who dared raise a voice in protest against the idea of Biafra. The provincial secretary for Calabar, an Igbo man, called a mass meeting in June 1967 and addressed the Calabar people thus, and I quote, "You Calabar people say you want a state of your own. Let me tell you that by the time the federal troops come here to enforce this mad idea, there will be no one left but grass and weeds, for we shall have flattened your land and killed all you Efiks." From then on, the non-Igbos of the eastern region were subjected to torture, detention, all forms of human indignities, and even killing. In Asang, a town in Enyon division, where I come from, and which is just a mile from Okpo, my own village, all the inhabitants, numbering about 400, were carried away to an unknown destination. 2 women, one a relation of mine who had been bedridden for 2 years, were slaughtered in cold blood because the soldiers said it would be a burden to carry them along, and they were under instructions not to leave alive any person in the town. On the way out, a woman gave birth to a babe, Adi, and was groaning in her travail. The soldiers bundled her out of the canoe which was taking them away, shot both mother and the innocent child, only a few minutes old. In Atanonoyo, another town in Enoin division, the whole town was burnt down together with all the people the Igbo soldiers could lay hands on. An uncle of mine was killed together with his wife and 4 of 5 children. 4 of 5 children. The only surviving child is a girl of 10 years, her right arm severed, who now lives to tell the tale of how they were all lined up by the river bank and shot. Luckily for her, she did not die and is being cared for by me now. Please power tap on TikTok. In Ikorekpeyong, 3 miles from my hometown, the Igbo soldiers rang the church bell one Sunday afternoon and forced everybody in the village at gunpoint to assemble in the church building for a special prayer for the survival of the so-called Biafra. When all were assembled, the Igbo soldiers surrounded the church, set it on fire, burning down the villagers and shooting those who tried to escape. It is estimated that more than 300 men, women, and children were massacred in and around that church that day. It's plenty. Did it happen only in this place? It also happened in Rivers, in Degema, in Abonema, in Port Harcourt. So these sob stories where you tell people, oh, they did this to me, they did this to me. I mean, I already acknowledged what they did that was wrong. I said that one before, so it's important to acknowledge that one. But no, don't do these sob stories or see what they did to me. See what you did to people. Oh, they cut a baby out. That was horrible. You keep babies in people's wombs, but you hate the idea of, say, why would you say our people also keep people in the wombs? It's not possible. Is a lie. Please read the book by Nebu Graham Douglas. You will see all those things there. Again, go to Telegram channel Redomi Global. You find it in the learning section. What the people in River State went through. Churches, 400 people were packed in the same church and burnt down. Just like here, 300 burnt down with the people inside. Who did it? The saints. We should acknowledge what happened to you, but you are not the sole victim of Nigeria's narrative. You should stop being a perpetual victim. It's irritating. See how she stacked a lie. It's a pattern. You will stack the lie with deflect, and then to come to blackmail, emotional blackmail. So the first bit is, I will never take responsibility. I didn't do it. It's somebody else. I didn't do it. It's somebody else. Oh, see what they did to me. See what they did to me. See what they did to me. Before you know, you two are crying. You think you are compassionate, but no, you are ignorant. By the way, there's a very thin line that, and I want to make sure that I say it. We all must keep our hearts pure. You should be compassionate, because that's another extreme that these people can push you to. Because you get to a point, you read some of these things. I've even read up to 1/10. You read some of these things, and your heart could be stiffened or hardened. But don't be like that. Show compassion for the evil that happened to people. Show compassion. This is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Acknowledge what happened that was wrong. Acknowledge it. But don't be naive. Don't be blackmailed. That thin line is, and there's a thin line between empathy and stupidity. Like, I'm empathetic towards you, but if you weaponize that against me, I begin to follow you like Mumu, which is what Nigerians have been doing for the past many years. The line between those two things is knowledge. You will remain empathetic because you are a human being and you have blood coursing through your veins. Somebody says people died. You won't say it's a lie. It doesn't really matter. Of course it matters. People died. It matters. But don't use that to blackmail me. I don't owe you anything. Don't say because somebody did something to you, I should come and do something. I don't owe you jack. In terms of, the point where you'll be told, what belongs to you, give it to me because I went through something. No, I don't owe you that thing. I owe you respect. I owe you love, which is more than you can give. Clearly, you can't even tolerate. You're always hating on everybody. But I will still love you, because I cannot allow you to stay my white garment. By the way, I even think it's, once you allow your heart to become hardened towards people like this, when you see people who are really soft, but be knowledgeable. Some people blackmail you and gaslight you with nonsense. Oh, see what we did, see what happened to me, see what you did. And by the way, it's not today's topic. I've read plenty, but not be today. Then, the other thing she mentioned, that one I'm going to stay on it for a bit. She said over 30,000 people died in the north. Let me start by saying this before I even go into that part. The folks who died in the north, how did they die? Again, to be very clear, I do not think death is something to celebrate. One person dying is one too many. So this is not about let's compare person will die. I'm not here to say it doesn't really matter because just one person that died. Excuse me. So I'm not saying, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. But how? Then we'll go to the numbers. So this is how they died. January, there was a coup. January 15 was an Igbo coup. With all these plenty points. If you don't get all these things, please watch all our videos. You'll see them there. It was an Igbo coup. If you like, cry. That's your business. People thought it was revolutionary until they discovered that, wait, everybody will die. No Igbo die. They were like, okay, wait, these people are lying. No. I said, oh, na Igbo come, na Igbo coup. Then the Igbos were like, oh, yes, well, cool. We like it like that. We are the Oga. Then they celebrated for 4 months. You guys say people don't get foresight. So it was an Igbo coup. People died. In July, there was a counter coup to retaliate what happened in January. I don't agree with either. Nobody should be killed for anything. They had a counter coup in July. Into August, there was a counter coup which was bad. And it was a northern counter coup. But here's the crazy part. It was horrible. The Igbos had killed about 24 people in January. These guys killed over 200 in July. It was terrible. But here's where the problem is. People were moving back to the east because of what happened in the north. So they went back home with tales of the killings and all those terrible things. And of course, they had the right to share their story. But here's the crazy part. The folks in the east began to kill northerners. Nobody tells you these things in Nigeria history. Especially these ones that we shared. They did this one, they did to us. They killed the northerners in the east. Not one, not two, not 100, not 200, not 300, not 500, not 1,000. They were in the thousands. I recommend 2 books. 3. Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green. The Nigerian Civil War by John de St. John. And Sunset in Biafra by Lechi Amadi. They stopped a train filled with Northerners who were trying to escape. There were about 2,000 people, according to some reports. All the men in that train were killed and thrown in the Imo River. All. The women eventually found their way to Benue State, Ziotukpo Medical Center in Benue, Makodi, or Tukpo, one of those towns. It's in the book, Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria, by H.M. Green. Now, they keep people in Port Harcourt. You see it in Eviche Amadi's book, Sunset in Biafra, in Onitsha, in Umaya, in Oboluafo, in different places. Now, people saw what happened. Some foreigners were there, that Oboluafo incident. They, according to some reports, took that thing with them. Somehow, that report found its way to Radio Cotonou in Benin Republic. People received the signal in Kaduna. Guess what they did? They decided to broadcast that event of Northerners being killed in the East in English and Hausa. This was in August. The Hausa people then heard what happened. Their own people were also returning. They were killed. I mean, I don't want to open that because of time. We spent a lot of time already, but there's a video on it on the YouTube channel. How Northerners were killed in the East. They killed more than, I mean, numbers go into the thousands in different parts. They keep people and loaded them on trains. The news got to Cotonou, like I said, Radio Cotonou, broadcast on Radio Kaduna in English and Hausa. The Northerners, the Hausas heard the news. They went on rampage. Began to murder Igbos. Is it good? Of course not. Of course not. But this is what happened in history. They began to kill Igbos. By the time the dust settled, the Eastern region published a document, October 1966. In that document, the book, the pamphlet is called Pogrom, which is not true. It wasn't a pogrom. It was a massacre. It was terrible. But you can't call it a pogrom. But that's what they called it. They call it a pogrom. And in that document, the Eastern region government said that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died in the, what they call pogrom. Again, I don't mention numbers to discount the experience of people. Even if one person died, that would be one too many. However, we should speak to people who are always lying about numbers, just inflating numbers. There's something that John Descent just said in his book, The Nigerian Civil War. He said Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. That's what this woman just did. And that's what a lot of people do from the Southeast. I'm quoting him verbatim. Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. What did John Descent John mean? You published a document in October that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died. Terrible. Bad. January 4 and 5, Aburi Accord, there was Aburi conference in Ghana. There was a conference in Ghana, January 4 and 5. Ojukwu got there and said to them, 10,000 people died. We were like, well, 7,000 to 8,000 in October. Now he says 10,000 in January. It's okay to round it up. It's okay. Sorry, it's bad. You have to make sure it doesn't happen again. May of 1967, Ojukwu said there were 30,000. It's not like they kept dying, no. They don't die. I mean, well, the case was over. I don't want to say don't die finish, but the case was already done. 7 to 8,000 in October. This is from the Eastern region, no. January became 10,000 people died. It's bad. But like 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. It's still about the same thing. It's terrible. By May of 67, Ojukwu said 30,000 people died. By the time he had the Ahira declaration in 69, guess what Ojukwu said? He said 50,000 people died in 66. That's the thing is, if you notice, the numbers have changed 4 times. I mean, he has given 4 numbers, so the numbers have changed 3 times. 7 to 8,000, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000. If you read the books by what's this man's name? Frederick Forsyth, Biafran Story, he used the 30,000 number, 30,000 figure. If you read well, not Elechamadi, Chino Achebe's book, where there was a country, which is also propaganda, by the way, he also used that number, 30,000. Nobody ever went back, but maybe they discovered that 50,000 was too much. And if you think I'm like, I have a document where he mentioned 50,000. The Ayara Declaration is here. The Ayara Declaration is here. The thing they discussed in Aburi is here. Just throwing up figures. When and why does it do that? Because, I mean, we're all human beings. If somebody tells you 10,000 people died, 100,000 people died, will you ask how? Most likely no. Okay, see what's happening in the US right now. What are they doing? Oh, can you call number 1,000 people die every day? I saw one this afternoon. I was like, I know it's bad, but dear. Oh, can you call 1,000? Just give you that big number, because you also feel something like, this one was not die, which is why or how Ojukwu won the propaganda game. Listen, you've been told that there's propaganda. She has mentioned it. Oh, they are raised on propaganda. Igbos were raised on propaganda, 100%. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are. But most likely, those people, their parents will most likely be like anathema amongst Igbos. E.g., Ukwabi Asika. He is so hated in Igbo land today. Meanwhile, he's the reason that they are okay, because of what he did from 68 to the end of the war. But nobody really celebrates him. Dora Quinley. Good people exist everywhere. I acknowledge that. But we read that book together, Nelson Ota's book, The Trial of Biafra's Leaders. Mass hypnosis. Mass hypnosis. Everybody says the same thing. It's as if you're in North Korea. O2, O2, abo, abo, ato, ato, ano, ano, O2, abo, ato, ano, ise, asa. Everybody just say the same thing. By the way, I like to say that I studied Igbo in secondary school. I kind of like the language, by the way. It's the mathematics, the numbering system is the easiest I've come across. Otu, abo, ato, ano, ise, asa, asato, itolu, iri na otu, iri na abo, iri na ano, iri na ato, iri na. I kind of like it. But I mean, jokes aside, the point is, people have been hypnotized to the point where that hypnosis has now become the history of the people. So young people grow up hearing those things. They feel bad. They think they are hated. They are not told what really happened. If the Southeast would get better, people have to face the truth and stop believing in this rubbish. My battlefield, yes, Ukwabi Asika's enough is actually here. But one of these days we're going to read Ukwabi Asika's speech. I'll tell you something. If I have 10 Igbo people here, when I read Ukwabi Asika's speech in 68, 9.5 of, no, let's say 9. We can't divide people. 9 of them will be cursing out Ukwabi Asika. But if you are interested, you find it in the book called Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green, volume 2. Is it? Yeah, I think it's volume 2. Just get the 2 volumes. You see it in one of them. Enough is Enough by Ukwabi Asika. You read that thing, you think it's something that's just talking about. Sincerely, every Igbo person needs to get that document. Please, I beg in the name of God. If you are reading, you think it's telling you about Kano, and I assure you, if you don't believe what that man said, and you don't care for all those things he's saying, you will not be in short supply of Nnamdi Kanu's, because that pain has to be expressed somehow. I'm not saying this because I hate Igbos. Number one, that's even beneath me. Hating people makes no sense. It's a waste of energy. But the point is, young people who are cursing people out and just angry everywhere, they don't know the truth. Truth doesn't keep you in bondage. Bible says you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. It may make you miserable because you'll be angry. Like, is this the truth? All of us have been through it. If you study history, most likely it will happen to you. hear the truth, read stuff, and then get better. Your land is blessed. But let's finish listening to this lady. Now she bring us come here today. Let's listen and be blessed. No, you can't be blessed by her, by the way. She doesn't have the capacity to bless. But let's listen to everything she has to say.
When I mean Igbos, both Midwest and the Southeast were killed. And corpses were transported to the Southeast region with trucks load. And you believe that people that will witness this will still want to be together with you. Put yourself in their shoes.
That's all. I told you she's going to end with emotional blackmail. It's a tested and tried method. You start with deflection, you end with blackmail. Take responsibility for nothing. Is everybody else's fault but yours. Then end with, see what I went through. You have trauma bonding. See all of it now. What if it was you? Would you want to stay in the nation? Go. All this thing about we are going to leave Nigeria, going to get on the next bus and go. Someone said she didn't talk about Igbos killing others. She cannot. If she mentioned that Igbos killed others, then everything has it's not going to work. She has to be the victim. It's a you see, victimhood in the Southeast, I think I said the other day, is not a product of the Civil War. Victimhood in the Southeast has very little to do with the Civil War. It's a strategy, not the reality. It's a strategy. And it's a strategy that began in the 1940s. And they use it for the British and they use it for Nigeria. They use it to the point where even British were like, wait now, Alpha, Kilo Day. British were like, this was what Arthur Richard said in 1947 January. If he said this in January, that means that people have been doing it since 45 when he got to Nigeria. He said the East contributes the least in terms of revenue, but clamors, these were his own words, clamors for more and more of everything. That clamoring. And if you think we're just saying it, go and read Zeke's speech in 1949. Was literally making Arthur Richard's 1947 point. Oh, we are the victim of everybody. We are the victim of everybody. Once you cry like that, then you'll be like, hey, just take. You are talking, with all due respect to special needs children, I think some people think that, it's like some of these people that are saying that they are, what's that thing they say in the UK now? Some people are doing it in UK. Transabled. Have you heard of transabled before? Anybody transabled? After this session, please, you can go online and check. Transgender is about gender. Transabled is about ability. E.g., there's a case of a lady who can see or could see, blinded herself so she could play the part of a blind man, a blind person, and then she called herself disabled. There are people who cut off a limb to show that they are disabled because they want their some people say it's mental illness. It must be, right? Of course, you're going to get the attention and maybe even the benefit of the disabled. There are people who may not even cut off, but act like they are. For instance, there are the ones that act like animals. I saw one last week. I was like, oh my show, act like a dog and then bark all over the place. This is what I see. I think I won't mention anybody. I think some people are acting like transabled people. Why? Because they've noticed the attention that special needs people have or disabled people have, and they want it. See, look at me now. It's not like all of us are working. Why should I work now? Why should I work now? You're not going to cut off something. My battlefield say I studied the issue in school. I thank God at least somebody else knows this thing. I mean, I know a number of you also know. Maybe you're not writing in the comment section. That attention, nobody's giving it again. And it's not because of hate, it's because of knowledge. Stop whining. Stop being a crybaby. Grow up. And if you have a problem with anything I've said today, that's good. Congratulations. It means it's working. And I've tried, like I always do, to be respectful, even though I've seen a lot of people cursing me out in the comments. I saw you guys, oh, I saw you. Flower, Mark DD. I was looking at everything you write in the comment section. I know it's paining you. You know, I would have said you are saying that to your parents, but let's leave your parents out for now because they're also suffering from this hypnosis. So it's okay. It's okay. But please grow up. May God bless you. May God bless your region. And this lady who just spoke nonsense, may God give her grace because she doesn't understand nothing. And she's not ignorant. She's hypnotized. Even the ones in the comment section, hypnotized. Just curse me. Like, that's your business. Someone says the psychiatric version is called body integrity dysphoria or body integrity identity disorder. I will mention one in the 60s. We called it projection. It's a mental issue. They're always projecting. Now, I've said several times, as far as the guys in the Southeast are concerned, every accusation is a confession. They are telling you who they are. You're a propagandist, that's who he is. You're a bigot, that's who he is. You hate me, that's who he is. That's what he does. Every accusation is a confession. And then we'll say that to the point where we'll now begin to appeal to your emotions in order to take advantage of you. It's a tried and tested thing that should stop working in Nigeria going forward. All right, I'm going to read some of the responses on YouTube, but let me just bring some people up. One person will speak, and I'll read some responses, and they'll go on like that, and then we'll have everybody contribute. Thank you very much for listening to this very long response to the video. God bless you.